Warren Davis, and you're watching the Evercade Effect.
Hey everybody, welcome. And you can tell by my t-shirt, I am serious about Neo Geo. But in all seriousness, everybody, welcome to the Evercade Effect. This is Ed. Here I want to talk about something that I've kind of talked about off and on in my live streams for a while, of why Neo Geo is essential on Evercade. And for those of you who aren't aware, I want to talk about specifically the Neo Geo carts that we're getting at the end of this month and later this year. So just ignore all the Taito stuff for now. Just see here, we're getting Neo Geo Arcade 3, Neo Geo Arcade 2, and then at the end of August, Neo Geo Arcade 1. And it's a good, a good mix of a collection. We get 6 games: Metal Slug, King of the Fighters 2000, Shock Troopers, Magician Lord, Sonogu, and Ironclad, which Ironclad, I think, makes this extra special because this was exclusive, to the Neo Geo CD. And kind of go back up here, we get even more collections. And this is a partnership that Evercade has with Neo Geo over the next few years. So it's not just something, that we're just going to see momentarily. So there's a reason why, other than the popularity and the awesomeness of Neo Geo, why this is specifically important. And we're just gonna dive into it. It's important to me, anyways, and why the Neo Geo really belongs here. So those of you maybe who aren't familiar with them, recognize these guys? These are MVS cartridges. And what's so brilliant about them is, back in the day, most arcade boards were just simply that. Just an arcade board. It'd be dedicated to an arcade machine. If you wanted a new machine, you'd have to buy a whole new machine. And that could be quite expensive. SNK had the brilliant idea, let's make cartridges. We'll have I think there was a 2-slot and a 4-slot and a 6-slot. That way, arcade operators won't have to buy a whole new setup. We'll just kind of sell them this kit that includes some cool marquees with these cartridges. You can just go ahead and pop them in them out, right? And just keep this image here in your head as I talk. So you notice that it's an arcade machine that was designed with carts. Yes, there's I think the Capcom 2 system, and there's other systems that also specifically have carts. But at least as of recording this video today, the arcade carts that we've gotten have just been on arcade boards. So I mean, it's so fitting that we're getting an arcade cart system on a modern retro console that's dedicated to carts. So for me, that makes it like super special. It's not just your own arcade system. Neo Geo carts are expensive. Playing Neo Geo carts are expensive. I did have an MVS system in the early 2000s that I'll talk about here in a little bit. So for me, this is also nostalgia, right? On your VS, you can play with the official licensed clicky stick. And I did a video on this if you want to see how I got it working with Evercade. And I can say, I'll talk more about this. I did own this and back in the day, the official one. And yeah, this is pretty damn accurate. So anyways, why am I making this video? Why am I talking about it? I kind of feel through the Evercade community, not everybody. There's some people understand the hype. Some people don't. They just kind of see it as another, set of arcade games, like whoop-de-doo, nobody really played these or whatever. There's some of that. I mean, I'm exaggerating. But Neo Geo just kind of holds, a special place, at least for me in my heart, because growing up, it was like the legendary Neo Geo. We want Neo Geo. We can't get Neo Geo. Like the AES system was super expensive, never saw it. What I did have experience with and what I did get to touch was playing it in the arcade, right? And so now if we go over here, and this is on the internet, so things from Wikipedia have got to be true, right? If it's on the internet. We're just kind of talking about, the reception of the Neo Geo, and, the Neo Geo MVS in particular had commercial success worldwide. I was trying to specifically pin down Europe and other parts of the world, but here they saw North America and Australia. But I mean, it's just, hell, there were the regions where, for Japan, USA and Europe. So we know it was popular, right? And then they kind of talk about, World Heroes and all that. Okay, good. Just making sure y'all can see that. Anywho's will be, and then I kind of list, arcade machines and Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Game Awards, and all these cool things. And the Neo Geo was very well received. I think by anybody who played it, unless you just really weren't into arcade games, which I think a lot of us in Evercade love it now. I mean, it's just for me personally, I see a thumbnail, I see Neo Geo, I want to click on it, I want to learn more about it. I love the system. I love the lore in the system. And I can remember in the early 2000s, and we're going to get to this, before there was legit emulation, I can remember getting a Neo Geo emulator that was just a bunch of batch files, and you find the ROMs and you would load it up, and you could only use a keyboard mouse, and it was very primitive, but it was cool, right? I wish I was one of those people that got to own one of those memory cards that you could use on the AES system and in the arcades, and supposedly supposed to save your scores and be like save states. Very, very, very well ahead of its time. Um, so now I want to go ahead and kind of share a story from for me from my nostalgia. In addition to everything, in addition of having the arcade at home, I don't know if I touched on that enough, but for me, like just having the arcade at home was a huge thing. Like, I wanted that, the early '90s. We got Street Fighter 2 like in the Super Nintendo. I wish we could have had more, but you had to be very selective on what ports that you got, like Mortal Kombat 2. I mean, those were excellent for its time, but we also got some crappy ports, and unfortunately, like the Mega Drive suffered for some of these ports, in my opinion, like this Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat. So yeah, it wasn't a common thing you were going to get a good port. Let's not even talk about like Fatal Fury on Super Nintendo. Yes, I owned that. It was a total garbage port, but there was still fun to be had. And the odd thing was, like, second player, you could, like, in versus mode, you could pick all the boss characters, which kind of sucked for the other person. But still, no, I digress. So back in the early, I want to say maybe 2003, 2004 or 5-ish, I was on my quest. I wanted to get a Neo Geo, and shit, everything was expensive. From getting the CD, the CD system was too slow. It was pretty cheap. I remember you could pick them up for like $50 or so, under $100, but it was so slow. The games were cheap. God, like the CDZ system was like 200 plus, which is a lot of money now, a lot of money back then. The AES system, I always remember that at least being $400 to $500, and it's like good luck trying to find games. Would cost just as much as the system, but there were people who made like custom arcade boards, and I can remember finding like this like janky ass MVS. It was just like on, I think, like an acrylic piece of an acrylic plastic mounted on there. It was a single slot, and you could plug in controllers, and all that. Let me think here. Yeah, and in addition to that, this one came with the UniBIOS. Like back then, it was the UniBIOS 3.0. For those who don't know, the UniBIOS, you could switch between AES mode and MVS mode. You could have unlimited credits, and you could cheat, and you could enable all types of things, and enable blood, and change like the different regions and all that. So it truly made it really customizable. You could plug in two controllers, and I remember on eBay, I think it came with like King of the Fighters '94, and it did come with the official like Neo Geo, joystick controller. Of course, the ball top was cracked, and it was kind of a little bit scruffy, but I didn't care. So it came with that. I think I got it like for like 150, under $150. I didn't pay too much more for it, and I think it was definitely homemade. It was like a little bit janky. I remember when I got it, there was no console cover. It was nothing. It was literally just mounted like on that acrylic, and it was kind of janky, but it worked well. I can remember plugging it in, just having a lot of fun. I think it maybe also came with like 8-Man or some other like really common, some really common cart. I remember then eventually getting like Marvel vs. Capcom, SVC Chaos, like that was $50. Back then, that seemed like more like Shinuku 3 for like $35. I remember getting like the later King of the Fighters, and I think I had like King of the Fighters like '98 on there, and like the original like Fatal Fury, so you could kind of see like how slower and different that game was, and then World Heroes, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed it at the time. I met my girlfriend, which is my now my wife, and all that. But I slowly started spending I started buying that. I started buying like cases. I was trying to print the whole thing out. If you all remember like Kinko's, I could never get everything quite right, and I'd mass like kind of like I didn't have more than like 10 cards, but I was kind of spending all this money, and I really enjoyed, and I loved the thing. Then I needed the money to move into a house, and I sold it. And the crazy thing is, it was one of those things where I made a lot more money. I remember alone just like these cases for the MVS cards. I think because I had like 10 of them, and like I think some dude in Germany bought it for like $200 for just like all these cases. It was nuts. So usually for stuff like that, I would end up getting money back more than I paid for it, and and like at the time, the Dreamcast and all that, and emulation and other things are still really hot. I remember like on the Dreamcast, they had like people have made kind of customized like CD versions of these games later on. You can play. I may be getting my dates and stuff, but anyways, I love the system. I don't regret selling it. And I remember to like back in the day, you get one of these off of Amazon for like $30. And the clicky stick was neat because I'm the type of gamer where very used to the D-pad for Street Fighter and all that. As much as I did love the controller playing some of the fighting games, I kind of struggled. And when I got this, that changed everything. And I love how it was compatible. And like, so that's the thing that I want now. I mean, think about this in 2025, having an officially licensed cool modern retro console, getting an officially licensed cart with the booklet and the arts and all those like, just awesome things. And now you get to use like an officially licensed controller. So pretty much it's going to be the closest without spending like hundreds and thousands of dollars. Yes, it's emulation, but it's all officially licensed. It's an official product. It's not just downloading ROMs. So for me, that's going to be like extremely nostalgic. And because this is an arcade cart system, just for the history alone of all the type of carts and collections we've got, it belongs here. And we're going to get 3 of them. And to be honest, I think we could have seen like 4 or 5 of those collections this year. I'm hoping we get 4 more Neo Geo arcade and that we see more all in and maybe some official like peripherals on that. So yeah, I have a personal history for this, other than just the legend of Neo Geo and wanting one as a kid, playing it in the arcades, actually owning like a makeshift like MVS board. And I want to talk about another thing that I think people really forget about, which also I think pushed Neo Geo kind of like later on. Of course, looking at the Neo Geo official wiki, so this 100% true. No, but remember, back in like 2007, Neo Geo announced that Neo Geo games would appear on the Wii's Virtual Console. I don't know if you all remember that. Like there were 900 Wii points, which was like like $9. But here you could just download official licensed games and play it. Use it right there out of the box. Plug in any type of supported controllers. And I want to mention too that on October 1st it says it was also made for the European Virtual Console. So we got it in Europe. Games were made available, in both Australia and the European Virtual Console market. Sorry there. In addition, of course, to the United States, but you could download like Sega games and all that, all that type of stuff. But we're talking Neo Geo. So yeah, you could get a good taste in the Neo Geo collection. It was unheard of. Like we're getting Sega games, we're getting Neo Geo games, we're getting TurboGrafx games, we're getting all these games that are coming on a Nintendo console. Like it was just insane. It was just unheard of. Like I remember, kind of that, like blowing my mind. So what I'm trying to say is, I think like unless you've been living under a rock and you're a retro gamer or a gamer of the 80s and 90s, you've heard of the Neo Geo. You may have had a friend that had the Neo Geo. You've probably played it in the arcade once or twice, or you've seen the big red machine. If not, in the early 2000s, you probably owned a Wii like a lot of people, and you heard of this thing called a virtual console, and you probably downloaded and played a lot of these games. So yeah, it's taken us 5 years to get there, but I'm so happy that we're going to see Neo Geo on Evercade. I've been saying that since this channel existed 5 years ago that we need to get Neo Geo. So I'm super pumped just for the nostalgia alone, getting a physical cart, getting everything physical, not having to break the bank. And then on the VS, this controller works, which I think you can pick this up on Amazon between $30 and $40, and it's fantastic. It comes with a dongle and it's wireless. And as a side note, it works fantastic on Steam Deck, both Bluetooth and with the adapter or anything else that supports it. So that's all I wanted to say. Why the Neo Geo is essential. I wanted to kind of make a video. Let me know in the comments below. Share your love or your hate for the Neo Geo. Let me know, did you play this growing up? Share your Neo Geo stories and all that'd be awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and thank my channel members. Oh, and I have to be Shield-9. Those of you know what that means. That if you happen to stumble here through the universe, YouTube universe that is, I would appreciate a like and subscribe and all that good type of stuff. Thank you so much. I'm going to thank my channel members. I really appreciate everyone's support. And bye-bye. Thanks, Crashline, Immortal Sojourn, Amber Cummings, Joe Whitlush, Alex Groot.